I'd like to begin today's lecture with a quotation from Cornell West, and we'll return back to this quotation toward the end of today's talk. All right. So West writes that the black intellectual is a disturber of the peace, wrestling with catastrophe and then transforming that catastrophe into hope. So I'd like us to keep that idea in mind as we further explore the ways in which African American male writers are interrogating and addressing the quotidian nature of black male death in this country. All right. The historical record shows us that white supremacists have consistently used violence as one of the principal methods to enforce racist ideologies. And we know that this violence often results in the deaths of African Americans, but particularly and historically we see that it results in the deaths of African American men. Now, what we also know, and what science teaches us, is that the brain can process previous traumatic events as if they are still occurring, as if they are continuous. What this tells us then is that in the African American collective conscience, we can argue murders from the historical past continue to exist, they continue to live as if they are continuous, ever present events. So, my work then articulates the relationship between these murders, these deaths that occur in the historical past at the direction of white supremacists or by white supremacists, and the ways in which African American male authors address the precarious nature of black male life in their own contemporary moments. So, more specifically, then, my work argues that particular works, particular literary pronouncements by these men, that they reconceptualize the very function of time. And by doing so, they articulate and expand upon an epistemology that theorizes the ways in which African American men both experience death, but then mount conspicuous refutations to the white supremacist requirement of their demise. So I use the term necroteneity to define or to identify the organizing structure of the epistemology. And necroteneity, I love this term because it incorporates both the prefix necro, which means death, and then also the word simultaneity, which means occurring at the same time. So what we see then in these literary pronouncements are the ways in which these writers are connecting previous historical events, that is, murder from the past, with their own precarious relationship to black lived experiences, and then using literature to connect these ideas. So what we see then, the way that we can sort of think about this and kind of root this back into what we're talking about as far as literature goes, is that whereas African American communities process the deaths of men who have been killed in the historical past, African American male writers then take that phenomenon and elevate it to another, more explanative, more revealing register. And they do this by reimagining those deaths in the literature that they create. So these deaths then occupy both a fixed and unfixed register in time. Fixed in the sense that in the past, right, those deaths are ever occurring. But then in their literary reimaginings, those deaths are then still occurring. So literature then becomes the bridge between the past and the present, right, between deaths in the historical past and then the precarious nature of black male existence. And both of them are connected through their literary works, right? But as I said before, we'll return back to our quotation. And one of the things that we also see in these literary works is the ways that these authors still hold out hope. And they hold out hope, and we see that through their exploration of black male interiority. And they, in exploring black male interiority, consider the possibilities for imagining black male existence far beyond how white supremacists and others have conceived of black male life and black male death. Right. My name is Dr. Jim II. I am an assistant professor of English here at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and this is my big idea.
All right. Wow.